I honestly feel like a short hike is an antidote to 2020. You know the nasty feeling you get when you watch the news, read a Twitter feud, or some new disaster happens? The opposite feeling is packaged into this adorable pixel art, and it is psychologically good for you. A Short Hike is a game about climbing a mountain. Are you surprised? You play as a bird named Claire who needs to climb to the top of the mountain to get cell phone reception. How you do this is entirely up to you. You're on an island full of characters who need help, encouragement, excitement, and even college tuition. It is entirely character-driven, which sadly doesn't exist too often in video games. So you run and fly all over the island, talking to these people, collecting items and feathers to help you climb farther. How is that psychologically healthy? Honestly, the people are nice. They treat you well, mostly. Looking at you, Jen. It is hopeful, and being hopeful is healthy. Is it a little cheesy sometimes? Absolutely. But it is charming and has the heart to pull it off. It doesn't feel pandering. The characters really mean it. Then you get to go and share encouragement with other people. It just brings your outlook up. And we'll get into some of the specifics of the psychological benefits that provides. Now, that doesn't mean that this is a game for cheerful Pollyannas. They do deal with serious issues. A painter who feels imposter syndrome and can't paint something they feel like lives up to modern geniuses. A boy who is worried about specifically disobeying his father and doesn't want to get in trouble. A rabbit who has to face up to the fact that she believes in luck rather than her own ability. A bird who is buying and reselling items at exorbitant prices because he doesn't have enough money to cover his school costs. There is plenty of humor in these moments, but they do bring up real issues. But the same characters are brave, move forward, learn lessons, and grow, just like the main character Claire. It is a world full of people deciding to be brave. Which brings us to the reason that I think this is a very important game. Back in the 70s, a researcher conducted a series of studies about media. He then coined a phrase, mean world syndrome. When you watch negative and violent content, you believe that the world is more negative and violent. That is mean world syndrome. You can begin to believe that the world is more negative and violent than is accurate to reality. Violence has decreased in the last 40 years. But if you ask people, most think that violence has increased. It hasn't. There are just more depictions and attention on violence. Our view of what is happening in the world is very malleable. So two people living next door can have very different concepts about the presence of pain in the world just because of the media they consume. Why is this an issue? Because your outlook isn't fenced in. It affects the rest of your mind. Mean world syndrome causes increased depression, anxiety, fear, anger, pessimism, post-traumatic stress, and even substance abuse. Believing that the world is worse actually makes your emotional state worse. Watching negative things is unhealthy. However, there is real difficulty and pain in the world. Lots of it. Life is hard. People do hurtful things. They just don't do them as often as we are led to believe. There is a lot of pain in the world, but there are a lot of good things to counteract that pain. So watching violence and negativity really salts the wound. Negative media makes the bad things worse and limits our ability to do good to counteract it. The researcher who originally came up with it said, "Fearful people are more dependent, more easily manipulated and controlled, more susceptible to deceptively simple, strong, tough measures and hardline measures." That is why I think you should play A Short Hike. We need depictions of goodness. We need to see people overcoming and facing up to their problems. We need to see bravery. We need to see people with unique passions, and we need people to pursue difficult things. A Short Hike is an accessible way to see those things. And I realize that I'm a sample of one, and this is not scientific, but I do feel more hopeful since playing this game. I am more excited for those around me and want to see them succeed. And I think our world needs a little bit more of that.